Hello, I'm Simon Whistler, you're watching TopTenzNet, and in the video today we're looking at the top 10 kooky conspiracy theories about mainstream medicine. Number 10. Chemotherapy is a conspiracy to make people sicker.
Hearing that you have cancer easily ranks among the worst news that any person can get. Despite gobs of research dollars that have been spent, we're not much closer to actually curing it. Part of this is because there are many different kinds of cancer that behave in different ways. You may find a solid cure for a few, but it likely won't work on many other types at all. Because it kills so many people and is so hard to beat, it's become the target of conspiracy theorists. Some of these people are touting alternative medicine that they're selling, so it's easy to see why they not believe their own story. However, there are many lay people who have been taken in by these conspiracies. These people will tell you in all caps that chemotherapy is poison. It's designed to take your money while making you sicker, knowing it's a nonsense cure that will never go anywhere. Some of these people will claim that no one has ever been cured of cancer by chemotherapy ever. Some will say it actually makes everyone who uses it even worse than before. While scientists who debunk these claims are very clear that chemotherapy can indeed be helpful, it's only effective for certain types of cancer and in certain situations. As we mentioned earlier, there's no one magic bullet for all types of cancer. There's a chance there may never be. Fighting cancer is something that has to be taken piece by piece, one step at a time. Chemotherapy is just one of the many legitimate treatments that has been found to have some efficacy for certain situations.
Number 9. Secret government or medical powers that be are hiding the cure to AIDS.
When AIDS first started proliferating, the US government pretended nothing was happening for years. The Reagan administration wouldn't talk about the issue, and when they finally did, it was derisively. Some people even referred to it as the gay plague. Because the government stood aside so callously and allowed it to run wild initially, it spread much quicker than it may have. This distrust has spawned countless conspiracy theories. Some suggest that it was created by the government either as a biological weapons test to punish particular minority groups, or both. However, at this point, most people accept that the evil that was done is past and we are now in a more enlightened place. On the other hand, some conspiracy theorists haven't let things go. They're certain that there's something underhanded afoot. It's their belief that the US or other powers that be are conspiring to hide the cure for AIDS. They want to depopulate the Earth. As far as these elites are concerned, AIDS is a tool for ridding the world of a lot of citizens, so they'd prefer it to stick around. Some theorists also believe that AIDS is so prevalent in parts of Africa because the US chose it as a testing ground. Many also believe that AIDS is a man-made disease designed to inflict genocide on gay men and blacks. Many conspiracy theorists operate on a principle where their theories make them feel better about a scary world. It probably makes them feel better to think that there really is a cure for such a terrible disease. They want to believe evil people are just covering it up instead of accepting that there are many things that humanity has trouble controlling that can wipe out large amounts of us in a very short amount of time.
Number 8. Western doctors were helping spread Ebola in West Africa as a test run.
Not long ago, the Ebola virus swept through West Africa, killing thousands. People around the world were worried about quarantines and possible travel restrictions, as well as what they may have to do should the very worst happen. Some infected people ended up in the United States and the media frenzy went completely wild. Before long, theorists were suggesting that Obama was bringing the virus to America in order to unleash it on groups of people he didn't like. However, most people have heard much tell of the Western conspiracy theories about Ebola, which usually involve the government trying to sicken their own citizens. In West Africa, where people were actually dying from the disease on a regular basis, no one was really sure what to believe. There were foreign doctors swarming the area trying to tell them how to change their habits to avoid getting sick. This sometimes conflicted with the deeply held customs of the people in more rural areas, and despite the Western doctors' outside intervention, people still continued to die in large numbers. Before long, many were certain that the foreigners were there just to infect them, to make them sicker, or even worse. Some people believe that the United States has had biological warfare labs in West Africa for years, and that this was the result of either something that became uncontained or a major experiment in warfare using the people of Western Africa as unwitting test subjects. The second example is obviously much more callous and evil, but both suggest that the US government is a shadowy entity doing their best to circumvent international law and come up with terrifying new agents of biological warfare.
Number 7. Doctors and hospitals make people sicker in order to get repeat business.
Most people accept that the purpose of a doctor is to heal people. Those who go into the medical profession are putting a ton of time and effort into schooling because they're passionate about what they do. Doctors are usually paid very well because they have an insane amount of education and work hideously long hours. Most people understand this, but there are some conspiracy theorists who are convinced that none of it adds up at all. They'll tell you that doctors have chosen their career because they're in it for the money. As far as those theorists are concerned, curing or fixing your issue is not something a doctor would want to do. Then you no longer need to see him and he doesn't make any more money. Therefore, they say it would make sense for your doctors to keep you sick on purpose so they can keep getting money out of you again and again. The conspiracy theorists claim that proof is in drugs. They claim that doctors aren't interested in curing or fixing any problems, only in treating you with drugs and other such things that allow them to keep selling you products and making you come back for review long term. This is, of course, an incredibly cynical line of thinking, to believe that doctors have no interest in truly helping you find a cure. The problem is that not everything can be cured, and some conspiracy theorists do not wish to accept this.
Number 6. Pharmaceutical agencies and the government are pacifying you with antidepressants.
In some parts of the world, especially the US, antidepressant usage is incredibly common and accepted by medical professionals. Doctors prescribe them at rates that some feel are incredibly ridiculous, often for things that seemingly don't make much sense in terms of their usage. Most people believe that the reason for this is that doctors are often overworked and don't have time to run all kinds of fancy tests and figure out the exact problem going on with their patient. And this is especially true if they didn't specialize in psychiatry, as most don't. So many doctors will supply people with antidepressants because their patient really wants something. They know it will make the person feel somewhat better if they have a chronic problem. However, some conspiracy theorists see this issue completely differently. They're convinced that something very evil is going on. They believe that while antidepressants can work for some people who truly need them, for most they are only a band-aid on deeper problems. Doctors know this and are doing it to keep the population dumb and zombified. As far as they're concerned, the mass usage of antidepressants was orchestrated by the US government in order to control the masses and also provide a certain amount of population control, as some antidepressants can cause suicidal feelings in those who use them.
Number 5. Chemtrails are making us sick to give doctors something to treat.
There are many popular theories about chemtrails. They control the population through mind control. They're used to destroy the population by killing us off slowly without us realizing it. But this one is a bit over the top in comparison. Some people believe that while it may be the big bad government creating the chemtrails and that they are indeed toxic, they're actually there for a much different purpose than most theorists imagined. These alleged chemtrails, which no conspiracy theorist has been able to satisfactorily prove as the dangerous spraying they claim, are alleged to be used in order to make the population just sick enough so that they have to go to the doctor a lot more. This allows doctors to make a lot more money because people will be coming in for sinus issues or coughing or other chronic things caused by the chemtrails that will never truly go away. Doctors can keep treating people in perpetuity and make boatloads of steady cash doing so. As far as the theorists are concerned, this whole thing makes perfect sense and isn't like some sort of bad sci-fi movie. Doctors tend to have more than enough patients that they are actually overworked in pretty much every country in the world. No doctor would want or need to make their patients sicker in order to have enough clients. In fact, most doctors would probably love the decreased workload and still make more than enough money without any worry. Those who distrust any major organization will choose to remain distrustful and unconvinced.
Number 4. The ADA is a fraud designed to harm people.
For those who don't know, the ADA is the American Dental Association. They're the licensing board that makes sure that dentists are properly trained to do their jobs. They ensure that patients deal with the least pain possible and come out of the situation with their teeth in better working order. However, as far as some conspiracy theorists are concerned, the ADA is nothing but a huge pack of lies meant to harm the American people. They're quick to point out that the actual dentists are likely just fine people. They were only trained to believe what the evil ADA wants them to believe. They're convinced, though, that because of the ADA's complicity in giving people fluoride and using it regularly, that the organization is in league with the government on a massive betrayal of the common people. Aside from just fluoride, they believe that even suggesting a root canal is wrong in every situation. The ADA often recommends them despite them being so horribly dangerous. Clearly, there's something nefarious at play here. They're all worked up that the ADA allows fillings that have small amounts of metal like mercury in them, worried that it will somehow poison the person that has it in their mouth. Such policies, as far as the theorists are concerned, cannot be tolerated and prove the official world of dentistry cannot be trusted at all.
Number 3. SARS was a biological attack test run against the Chinese by the USA.
When the SARS epidemic started in China, it was a similar but not quite as frenzied hype as that of the Ebola virus outbreak. It was already starting to kill, and people were worrying about it spreading quickly through China and then the globe, but it had not come close to causing the kind of damage that Ebola had yet. However, being a deadly disease that had the potential for extreme danger, it wasn't long before the conspiracy theories began in earnest. Some people in China were convinced that their government was going to declare martial law and start quarantining or shutting down entire cities. Others claimed the government planned to help immunize people by spraying the cities using low-flying planes. The most damaging and dangerous theory, though, suggested that the entire thing was orchestrated by the US government. Those who pushed this theory believed that it was biological warfare against the Chinese people. The virus was especially designed to take out the Chinese. 2 Russian scientists put fuel on the fire by claiming to the media that SARS must be man-made and have to have been designed in a lab. This led to a further conspiracy theory that the US and Japan had a cure to the disease. The entire thing was apparently orchestrated to distract the Chinese from the ongoing war in Iraq. While many citizens have believed these theories, the Chinese government themselves were swift to crack down on those spreading the rumors.
Number 2. AIDS was knowingly transported back to the USA by Merck Pharmaceuticals.
As we mentioned, there are a lot of crazy theories out there about AIDS. Some are convinced that it was used by evil people for evil purposes. Some think it was man-made. Others think it was discovered, tested on the public, and then got out of control. The accepted explanation is that it was originally a simian immunodeficiency virus, and that made its way to people, originally while in Africa. Some theorists believe in a completely different truth. They believe they have transcripts of the truth that were supposedly cut from the official version from an interview with scientists who worked for Merck Pharmaceuticals, talking about how AIDS really came to be. Allegedly, these scientists were talking about working to come up with a polio vaccine by using monkeys, but the monkeys kept dying in transit. These supposed transcripts show that Merck knowingly brought the monkeys that had the disease back to the US for testing, helping it break out and become the horror it is today. However, the theorists actually go further than this. The transcript makes it sound like the researchers were using monkeys with the virus as part of their research for a polio vaccine. They may have been irresponsible after the fact for bringing them into the country, but the theorist has a completely different take. He believes that the researchers were actually using the monkeys to create AIDS, and were confessing at last to the truth of their horrendous deeds, while laughing about it. In actuality, even if this transcript were true, it doesn't prove that these men created AIDS, or that it was man-made at all. It really only proves what we've known all along: conspiracy theorists are freaking nuts.
Number 1. Bird and swine flu were overhyped on purpose to gauge the public's reaction.
Many people would agree that the media is often irresponsible in their over-sensationalization of deadly disease. Every new thing, whether it's Ebola, SARS, bird flu, or swine flu, is the latest virus that's going to totally kill us all. It's a great way to make attention-grabbing headlines. Many of us are now skeptical of the latest threat. We generally just try to maintain good health habits, knowing that it's the best we can do. However, some people are convinced that when something like bird flu or swine flu is being hyped, it's actually a government game of psychological warfare they're playing on their own people. The world governments, the Illuminati, and the other powers that be are supposedly constantly fabricating deadly epidemic scares out of almost nothing for the purpose of increasing their control. Once people get scared of the disease, they will then produce a vaccine. People will be terrified into going and getting it en masse. The vaccine will then slowly give people lots of other diseases over time. This will ensure population control. It will also make big money for the pharmaceutical industry, who basically makes a killing selling the vaccines. According to the theorist who pushes these theories, vaccines never work at all, ever. They're also extremely dangerous and designed by the secret powers that be to hurt people and maintain control. While some anti-vaxxers are simply convinced that there's a small chance vaccinations can cause autism and the government doesn't want you to know, this particular theorist takes a much stronger stance. As far as he is concerned, there's no such thing as a good vaccination, and there never will be.
So I really hope you found that video interesting. If you did, please do give us a thumbs up below, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Also, over there on the right are a couple of other videos you might enjoy if you enjoyed this one, and thank you for watching.